A bit of an update on the plan for this bezel here. So thanks to a wonderful suggestion from Old Radio Al after my last update, he suggested I check out the Brett's Old Radio DVD set because there's a whole section on repairing plastic and Bakelite cabinets. And as it happened, I actually got those DVDs quite a long time ago, but I bought them at a time when I was learning about AM alignment, and so I only really looked at this section on AM alignment. So I had a look at volume 3, plastic cabinet repair and finishing. Lots of good information in there. And so the consensus for this little project here is cast resin, cast epoxy. So obviously I need to find a local source because this kind of stuff usually has all sorts of import restrictions and things. So I think I found a source locally. Unfortunately, this catalog does everything in German, French and English, which is fortunate for me because usually here it would be German, French and Italian. Anyway, I found this product which is called Epoxy Cast Resin Water Clear, which says it hardens basically completely clear, which is exactly what I need and would typically be used in arts and crafty type stuff for encapsulating metal coins and various other things. And based on the instructions on how you use it, it's very similar to the American products that I've seen on YouTube and stuff. So comes with the resin and the hardener, and so we're going to give that a shot. But then I discovered this is actually part of like a 230 odd page catalog, and so this whole world of epoxy resins is a little bit it's a completely different world. One thing I will mention, I don't know if you can see this on the clip, but the actual brand name of this stuff is called Poxy Systems, which certainly in British English is a somewhat unfortunate brand name, but hey, there you go. So that's that product sorted. While I was there, I discovered that they have other excellent products for like casting things like gear wheels and knobs and stuff, so I thought I might get a little test back at that to see how that would work out. And then John on the deck in Arkansas is often talking about liquid tape, so it looks like they have a product very similar to liquid tape, so I got to try that out. To cast a mold, they do a modeling clay, so I'll get some of that. I mean, I'll look in the local craft shop and see if I can find some what do you call plaster of Paris material, but that may not set to you feel like a shiny enough surface, so I'll try some of this modeling clay as well. Then of course when you make molds you need to make a release, you need a release agent. So this is a release wax that will stop your epoxy sticking to the mold. Since I got 4 of them to make, I can't afford to break the mold after the first one. Then of course you need things like mixing cups and stuff. So that's good. And then as a fallback, if this epoxy doesn't work, I also found that these guys have a polyester casting resin. But I'll try the epoxy first and we see how that goes, and if that gives me problems we'll fall back on the polyester. So I'm going to order all that stuff up and then put the bezel away until all that stuff arrives, and I may do some testing and experimenting. In the meantime, I'll make a little jig for this and I will glue it all up with epoxy, cut this one out, and then wait for the stuff to arrive. The other valuable piece of information I got from one of the colleagues on the UK, one of the UK forums, who has redone about 5 of these types of sets, is he mentioned that he did not need to recap any of them, that they all worked just perfectly fine, as is, so to speak. So since my chassis looks pristine underneath. There isn't any sign of melted wax or anything like that. I think we're going to accelerate, hopefully, the chassis process, and I'm just going to wire it all back up and see if this thing will fire up. I got to do the diode and electrolytic cap thing first, but I'll do that and then see if we can get this chassis hooked up to some electrical energy. So here's what I came up with for jigging up the bezel so I could at least glue it up. So I clamped a piece of hardwood onto a piece of aluminium plate to give me my reference straight edge along here. I fixed this one down with a piece of high-tech tape. I put some very thin plastic underneath where the joints are so that it doesn't glue everything together. Then I fitted on the second part, lined it all up here with the reference edge and taped that down, and lastly I put in the piece on the top, also with some light little bits of plastic underneath the joint areas, so hopefully it doesn't all stick to the base. So that's the plan. I'll know in about 10 or 15 minutes if it worked or not. Okay, so I've got the existing frame pretty much glued back together. I missed one little point here. I should have glued this upright as well. It snapped at that end, but I forgot. I just glued it here, here and here. But that's okay. So I can take this one out and I can glue that back when I'm adding these other ones back in. And then it'll all get put one side for a while until the epoxy stuff shows up. I may have been a little bit hasty when I snipped the 3 wires going to the from the audio output transformer to the speaker, because 2 of these wires are extremely hard and heavy gauge and are in fact very well screened. So I don't know if you can see this, but this guy here has a wire braid screen on the outside. Then it has a like a plastic sheet or an aluminium sheet, and then it has fabric underneath that, and it has another aluminium plastic sheet, and it has more fabric like fiberglass underneath that, and then you have a solid core wire right here. So this goes to one end of the speaker, this goes to the other end of the speaker, and this goes to the external speaker connection, as far as I can see. Very, very strange. Very strange. So, yeah. So I guess if I put all this back together and I have a lot of hum and stuff, this is going to be one of the culprits to see if I can, I may have to replace these wires entirely. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, I'm working on getting this these cells in, and so what I've got here is the capacitor with the 2 diodes in series. That's hopefully my way of protecting the heaters from over voltage. And so this, the supply from the bridge rectifier will come in to these 2 points here. Interestingly, I had to replace the negative wire because when I tried to tin the negative wire, it wouldn't take solder at all. And so when I stripped it back, I found that green corrosive substance, whatever it is. It must have been liquid or something, or gas, because it had gone all the way back down the wire. And so I snipped it back a couple of times and stripped the end off. It was the same every single time. So this, whatever this corrosive substance was, it got all the way back down this wire, right back to the connectors. So I had to rewire the black wires going to each of these negative terminals here. the yellow art for some reason seemed to be pretty okay. Obviously these contacts were totally corroded, so I had to give them a good polish up. But I think at this point we're good. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. But there you go. So yeah, I think the next plan is to wire the speaker back up and the mains cord and give this a shot. Yeah, moving along. Well, I'll talk about getting problems where you don't expect them. Whatever this chemical that leaked out of the battery is really toxic stuff, and I think it must have been a vapor of some sort, because there's only very certain areas that are corroded. So for instance, this fuse holder, the mains fuse holder, was badly corroded. And this corrosion goes really deep. And of course it insulates. So I spent a long time trying to clean this fuse holder to get all that rust off it, to the point where you could actually get electrical connectivity. So yeah, that's a little frustrating. Anyway, so I've rigged up a temporary power cord, and I've rigged up my D-cell setup here. So I just need to wire up the speaker and the antenna. So I just need to figure out a way how to lay that out without having to put it back in the cab. And then we're getting ready for maybe a first power up. Okay guys, I have temporarily wired the chassis back up. I've got two D-cells in here. I've got the caps with the clamping diodes. I've got the voltmeter on here measuring the heater voltage. It says 1.54 at the moment. I was getting a little curious because I thought the two diodes were supposed to clamp it to 1.4. Anyway, so it's wired up to the variac. I've set it to a little under 220, like 210. Obviously I don't have a B+ battery connected, but hopefully that's not a problem. I didn't put any of the knobs back on, but let's see how we go here. Okay, the heater voltage dipped and then came back up. It's 1.55. It should be okay. And I put it on medium wave because I can't really hook up the FM antenna the way this thing is wired up. Everything needs to be in the cab to do that. So, but I hear something. I guess there's definitely something in the speaker. There's a lot of crackling from the tuning condenser, so I suspect it needs a good clean. That sounds like an earthing problem. So it probably just needs a good clean. Maybe some of the chemical stuff got in there, but we have audio now. I don't think we've any hum, at least not excessive yet. So electrolytics and stuff seem to be okay. Okay, we're a long way to go because this is at full volume here.
Dégranchés ont soumis leur plat et les équipes devaient le reproduire à l'identique en vue et en présentation.
Qu'est-ce que c'était ces plats précisément?
On a eu un rideau de cannelloni sauce aux petits pois et marjolaine. On a eu du cabillaud avec une sauce vanille rhum. On a eu un dessert aussi.
Okay, I'll let this run for a while, but it seems like we have a functioning chassis here, at least basically. So I'll just let it run for a while to make sure
Qu'est-ce que vous a permis finalement ce grand concours?
nothing strange happens.
Chez les salariés, des talents cachés, des personnalités.
But yeah, that's a major step forward. Okay, I couldn't resist. I reoriented it a little bit and try an FM, even though I don't have an antenna. That's pretty cool. Tone control works. Okay, that's enough. I'll let it soak for a bit and then go from there.